The Bamboo Project wholesaling video starts in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Bamboo Project YouTube channel. My name is Donivan Gray.
And my name is Melissa Burnett. We currently have over 200 videos on our channel of our Dr. Sebi inspired diet, travel vlogs, sports, music, clothing, podcasts, beauty, and everything us. We live in New York City, and this is episode 10 of our virtual wholesaling series, where we give weekly updates on our journey to getting our first deal.
We started this series for people who want to get into wholesaling, who don't have any money, who don't have any mentors, and want the perspective of people just starting out. Today is December 19th, and this is last week's update. So Melissa's going to go first. I actually have a lot of things that happened this week outside of what the title is of this video.
I'm about to say the whole address. Because I lost the deal at the property, at the subject property that we spoke about in the last video, I had to start over. So square one, calling agents. One of the comments, I don't remember who it is, but somebody reached out to us and then suggested that we looked into the Houston market, Houston, Texas. Mm-hmm. I found a property that I was interested in Texas, and I did what I normally do. I call up the agent, and we have that conversation. And it's recorded, so if you want to see that conversation, it's going to be posted in the future, and I'll put a link in the description for that specific video. But the conversation that I had, I was speaking to a Texas real estate agent. She was being disrespectful throughout the conversation. I just kind of took it as she was just probably being stern or something like that. I didn't check her. So what ended up happening is, by the end of the phone call, because I'm giving my offer, I'm telling her, okay, I would like to submit the offer of this amount. We both know that this property needs work. She said, what did she say? Well, I know that he's not interested in that, or I'm not going to waste your time and my time, something like that, and then just hung up the phone on me, which is crazy because I've never had no one hang up the phone on me, funny enough, this whole time that we've been doing wholesaling like this. So, and I felt like she did it like very maliciously. So it was just that didn't sit very well with me. So, what is your face for? You have something to say. I'm
gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had the best album of all time.
I felt some type of way about that, but so I ended up texting her. I'll probably put the text here, but I just still wanted her to present the offer to the seller. I probably shouldn't have let off the text with the way I let it off. I could have left out the part of her being disrespectful. That's how I was feeling in the moment, so it probably won't do that in the future because it's unprofessional. I reached out to another agent that said that he would be glad to help us and blah, 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 sending me off-market deals and all that, and I have not gotten a response yet. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now, just starting over, looking for deals again, and trying to get something under contract. So Donivan, you may take the floor.
Oh, you want me to go?
I'm done. That's
okay. Well, I was going to address the fact that Melissa was being petty with the agent, because what had happened was, I'm going to tell from my perspective, what I saw. Melissa got on the phone, and I think that she was doing better on the phone than normal. But like I said before, one of the things that I think that she has an issue with is kind of going by a script. And when you go by a script, you don't really have a response when somebody gives you something that's not a part of the script. And then she'll kind of get a little flustered when that happens. So with this person, you had asked them, she had said that, the property needs some renovation. And the lady was like, that's why it's on the market at that price. And Melissa didn't really have a response for that. She was kind of like, I kind of want to do the bathroom, and I see there's some cracks in the floor outside the house. So, you should probably work on that. And the lady was like, that's why it's listed as an investment price.
It was not listed as an investment price. It was listed retail price, but I should have said that.
This is what I always say to Melissa when she's giving her price, is she has to be firm and fair in the price.
I asked her why the seller was selling, and
you asked her that
she
twice?
kind of laughed. No, I asked her that one time. The first, she was just kind of like, why are you asking that? Or, had like a attitude kind of towards it. And that's when I'm like, I'm asking because it could be a tenant occupied place. The owner could still, be living in the house, need to find somewhere else to move to. Like, I'm trying to figure out how soon I can move in on this, and do work on this property. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that my biggest issues with the Melissa's, I guess, strategy on that is that the woman was being disrespectful early in the conversation, and not blatantly and overtly disrespectful. It was more so just little jabs and things like that. So I believe that is why the phone call ended the way it did, because Melissa did not check her on those times. So it ended up growing and growing and growing to the point where Melissa said, I want to do $215 on the house, and I think that's when she hung up the phone on you.
I can understand them not wanting to do the offer or them saying no, but usually how it goes is that I'm like, okay, can you just present it to the owner and just let me know what they say? Because they're, legally supposed to do that. I didn't even get an opportunity to say that. I gave my offer. She's like, no, and then hung up the phone. And I'm like, what the fuck? I ain't never, what just happened? So I was heated. I was upset.
Right, she was very upset. And I always say, I think Melissa needs to work on that, because then she texted the lady and was like, even though you're being disrespectful. I didn't read that part. She said you have no right to not present an offer to the seller to let them know what I said. I had 2 properties under contract this week. I had one in Philadelphia and I had one in Missouri. So this was the first property I got under contract this week. Now, I was really excited because I'm like, the margins were very slim on this one, but it was my first one. So I'm like, okay, I don't mind taking a lower pay cut if I can just finally get a deal done and, bring one home for the team. Like, all right, I got one. Let's try and get more and build on top of this. So I didn't mind taking a lower pay cut and just having the margins be a little bit smaller. I was okay with that. This is the numbers for that deal. So the ARV was $359. I have my estimated renovations at $75,000. I got the property under contract for $185. I'm thinking I'm gonna wholesale it. I got it at $185. I wholesale it for $190. The person who would sell it would still make almost $40. They make $40,000. If I wholesale it at $190. They still make $40,000. So I'm like, okay, y'all can let me know if it is a good deal or not. These are the numbers I came up with. I'm like, okay, this seems like this would work for an investor. So I get under contract. I'm excited. I'm like, okay, boom. Now here comes the part that I have already said before has not been my strongest suit, and that is getting a cash buyer. It is the hardest part for me, is to find cash buyers that are willing to pay for the property. It's just, for whatever strange reason, it's just a hard thing for me to find. There are people I've been talking to in the comments who have been very helpful, put me in directions to where to find cash buyers, and they have their software. They use cash buyers, so I'm kind of connecting with them to see, okay, if I get a deal, how can we work on this to kind of get this deal done? Before that even happened, I had got the deal in the contract, and I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what everybody else says. I know Melissa, last time she had got a property under contract, she had took that property and she had sent it to an investor, and by accident the address was there. So I'm like, okay, remember, just don't put the address when I post it. I went to Facebook. That was my first place to post it. I put it on Facebook. I didn't put the address. I'm like, okay. I got a couple of people who said, hey, is the property available? I go, yeah, it is. So they're like, okay, what's the address? I'm thinking, well, I've already weeded out the people who wouldn't be serious because I didn't put the address on the initial post. So he asked for the address. I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. Maybe he could kind of check out the area or see if it fits his numbers or see if it fits his criteria. I got the property under contract in the afternoon. So I put it on the market on Facebook really, really quickly, like almost immediately after I got it, right? So I'm like, okay, I know that I've seen Jerry talk about this. I know I've seen other people who do wholesale talk about, once you get in the contract, just go. You got to find a cash buyer as soon as possible. And if you can't get a cash buyer within the first 2 or 3 days, it's probably not a good deal. So I'm thinking, oh, boom, I got somebody who wants to buy in the first day or two. This is definitely a deal. So what I've been doing also is I have a form that I created on Google Forms, and it has a bunch of questions that I have for the investors. Now, this particular person, I didn't send it to them. They had already saw the property that I had and they wanted to purchase it. So I didn't think that they need to fill out the form. Going forward, I will have all of the cash buyers fill out the form before I send them the address. That's probably one of my vetting processes that I'm going to have. I've been thinking, okay, I have to vet all of the people that I have. So I have a cash buyers list right now. It's probably about 7 people to 9 people that have filled out the form already. This property didn't actually fit their criteria, so I didn't send it to them. I'm trying to figure out creative ways to find cash buyers. My first thought was, I got it under contract, just get it out there and see who wants to pay for it. So I put it on Facebook, and I should have definitely called the cash buyers or did the Google thing, and I didn't do that. So I'm kind of annoyed by that. I get a phone call. I don't know who the phone call is from. I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I don't know who this is. I pick up the phone. It's the agent for that property. So I go, hey, what's going on, man? He's like, hey, are you assigning this contract? I'm like, yeah, I am assigning it. He was like, yeah, somebody just called me and they said that you're signing this contract for $195. And I'm like, what? He was like, yeah, why didn't you tell me you were signing the contract? And I'm like, honestly, I don't even remember what I said to him because I'm just thinking, what the fuck is going on right now? I'm like, who would call up the agent and then tell them? He's like, yeah, the person called me and said that there's somebody who's wholesaling this property, and I wanted to know if I honestly, this is what I believe. That person was probably wholesaling. I gotta get my stuff together because I'm getting stressed even thinking about this. This person called them, and I'm assuming that they are a wholesaler and that they added an extra $5,000 to what I was gonna do for that property, because I got it under contract for $185. I was gonna sell it for $190. They went and told the person $195. So I'm assuming they figured, hey, I'll offer an extra $5,000 on this deal, and then I'll get the property under contract. That's what I'm hoping was said, because I wouldn't understand why a person would go to an agent and the property is on the market. And this is another issue that I'm trying to understand, is why investors have a problem with on-market deals. I don't understand that. Like, my brain has not understood why there's an issue. Whenever I talk to any of the cash buyers I find on Google, everybody says, oh, it's on the market? Nah, we don't want that. No, we don't want to touch that. And I'm just like, I don't understand what the problem is. I haven't seen no videos explaining why this is bad or why people don't want to do it. But I know more than once I've taken a property to a cash buyer and they go, ooh, that's on the market. Yeah, we don't do those. And I'm just like, but it's the numbers still work. So do you want to make the money from the investment or not? So it's stressing me out trying to figure that out. He's on the phone with me asking me why am I wholesaling it? What's wrong with that's not in the contract? They have to terminate the contract now. And I'm like, terminate the contract? I'm just like, oh my God. And the thing that got me annoyed is because there were two people that I had. One of them I gave the address to, and the other one, I gave the address to two of them. It was two of them I gave the address to. It was a lady who had commented on Facebook and said, hey, I have a cash buyer who's looking to do deals or who's looking to buy up to this amount. It was $700,000. That was their cap for purchasing property. So I had sent her an email with the information for the property. And then the other person was this random person that just wrote me on the message and said, hey, what's the address for this property? What's the details? I want to get the details. And I sent them a profile that I built of this property. It doesn't make any sense to me why this person would go and contact the agent, because there's no benefit to doing that. So my brain goes to, what is the reason? Like, I'm on my Cardi B. What is the reason? If you are gonna go to them, what do you expect to get out of that? Then he's like, yeah, we're not gonna do this deal, and I can't believe that you would wholesale this and not say anything. That's crazy. For assignments, you have to get a written permission. If you want to assign it, you can do it as long as the seller signs off on it. He said to me, the agent, that he had another offer on the table that was conventional financing, right? And I'm like, they were gonna live in the property. So I'm like, what's the difference between them and me? It's the same exact thing. He's like, no, it's not. It's not the same thing. You're doing wholesaling, and it's not gonna go through. And I'm like, based off of what? The same thing that happened with me can happen with a conventional loan. If that person comes to the property and the bank says, well, nah, we're not financing this, or the person says, you know what, I came to the house, I don't want to do it, then they're gonna back out of the contract. The same thing on my end. If I don't find a cash buyer for you, then we don't get a deal done. So for him to tell me it's not the same thing was really annoying, and it kind of leads me to believe one of two things. One, there's just a negative connotation behind wholesaling, and two, people just don't understand it. And on top of the fact that it's in Philadelphia and it's probably already people talking about what it is and how bad it is, once you hear the word wholesaling or signing a contract, it's like, oh no, it's null and void. We don't want to do that. Stay away from us. You got the cooties. I'm thinking my issue with that specifically is, I think on my end, how could have made that better is by being more professional when I sent out or marketed that contract. I do not think that putting properties on Facebook is the best idea. That's just my opinion. I'm like, it has not boded well for me. I know that there are multiple, probably hundreds or thousands of people who have gotten deals off of Facebook. I'm not saying that it's not gonna work. All I'm saying is, for me, I don't like it, because there has to be more of a vetting process on there. What's the ratio of positive cash buyers on Facebook to people who are just bullshitting you, who are just sending out spam, or other wholesalers trying to steal your deal, or people who aren't serious about investing and can't buy anything? I hate Facebook. To me, it's a swamp. It's like the worst and the bottom feeders of society be on Facebook. So I'm like, I don't think that the people who are really serious are on Facebook. That's how I view Facebook. I view Facebook as like the worst, because it's just everything. Everybody's on there. It's just everything. It's just so much going on at the same time. It's everybody's like, hey, I want to do it. I want to do a deal. You post something up, you get a bunch of fake comments. You get people advertising virtual assistants. You get people telling you that they could send you leads, people who are telling you they can find cash buyers for you. It's just so much. And that's why, me personally, I don't like Facebook. So my strategy going forward, I'm not going to use Facebook in that capacity at all. I'm just not going to use it.
Let's say that we find out that we should have did X, Y, and Z instead of A, B, and C. You still wouldn't use it?
What?
Okay, so you said that you would vet the cash buyers differently.
Mm-hmm.
So So you haven't tried that yet necessarily. So would you give that a try, or you're just done with Facebook?
It won't be my first option. It might be like at the bottom of the list, because based off of what happened in Missouri, because I'm like that. I don't know if you take that into account. Where it's like, I just posted it and there was I didn't have to vet and talk to anybody about it, and I lost the contract.
How did you? And then what happened with the first one?
The first one, the person contacted me about it, and they were like, "Hey, what's the address?"
How did they contact you about it?
In the messages.
But so you didn't post it?
The first one I did.
How did they know?
I posted it. The first one.
Oh, okay. So because I thought you said that you didn't post the first one and you posted the second one.
No, I didn't post the address of the first one, but I'm saying that in the second one, I didn't talk to anybody.
Oh, and somebody still fucked up.
Right. It was just on Facebook.
Wasn't there?
No, it was just the zip code and the pictures, and that's it.
Are you serious?
Yes. I didn't post the address on Facebook. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I put it up there, and it was just a zip code and the pictures. I got an email from, I guess, the broker who was saying that, I guess they CC'd him in, and they were saying that, the deal is terminated based off of line 177 to 180 or something like that, saying that the seller has to agree to the assignment of the contract.
Which is weird because you didn't assign it to anyone.
Yeah. So
how did they terminate that's weird.
Yeah. Now I think about it.
Because you were trying to assign it? You didn't assign it to no one.
You
didn't find a buyer yet.
I mean, I told him I was going to assign it. I mean, here's the thing. I could, if I want to buy it myself, I still could. I mean, not now, obviously. But I could have, hypothetically, if I tried to assign it and couldn't assign, I could just buy it myself. But they were like, nah, you say you're going to sign it, termination. And I'm like, I don't even know if you can do that, honestly.
They didn't even really, did they speak to you?
The guy called me, right, and then he was just saying, like I said, that's what I was saying earlier too, is he was trying to tell me that there's no way I'm going to get a cash buyer, it's going to fall through, and it's the same thing, and he's going to tell the seller about it. I wouldn't be surprised he went to the seller and was like, listen, don't do the deal. Yeah. It's just, don't do it, it's not going to work, and the person for this property lived in another state. So he probably went to them and was like, it's a wholesaler. If they even know what that is, they're not going to do the deal. The person's not serious. I don't know what he said to the person, but I'm pretty sure he told them, nah, don't do the deal.
That's crazy. So, but I don't think the seller terminated it, right? It was the broker. So what if the seller said, nah, like they want to still try it out or something like that?
I would never know.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy because usually they would say the seller terminated it, but you said the broker was the one that terminated it.
It says seller terminates the agreement of sale.
At the end of the day, we're still gonna have to give them a written agreement to assign it. That's the amendment that we're gonna have to add afterwards. Maybe we should say me and one of my associates, like on the phone calls while we're talking about the terms of the contract, so that they're not, I guess, blindsided.
But this is my problem with Facebook, is because if I say that and I tell somebody about it and then they go and call because here's the thing too, right? This is the other problem that I have with this. How much work did you have to put in to call the listing agent? You had to find the property, put it on Zillow, scroll down, look for the agent, call them, and then lie and tell them I'm selling the contract for $195,000. Who does that? Like, what kind of person does something like what kind? Like, now this person, I don't know who it is, so I'm not gonna say anything bad about them because it could be one or two people. So I'm not gonna really call them out or anything like that. The second person, you about to get it. You definitely gonna get it. This person, I'm just kind of like, it was annoying. So when it happened, I was just kind of like, damn, like I was just really, like you really called them just for what reason? Why would you call them? So that's that. I'm gonna get to this second contract because this second one is wild. Like this shit, we decided that we need help, right? To just building a team. That's what we decided, that having a team would help us to get deals faster because we can attack more areas at the same time. We can cover more parts of wholesaling, whether it be getting a cash buyer, whether it be finding leads, whether it be analyzing deals, whether it be going to properties. But like, if we can have a team of people that can do these things, then we will be able to make the pipeline for wholesaling easier. So we decided that we would pay people for deals that we closed depending on how they helped us. So if somebody went to a property for us and we closed, it would be $1,000. That was the deal before, because if we were doing a 10K club with Jerry, then it would be, we get 10,000, we give you 1,000. That's 10% of that. Giving somebody 1,000, if we only make 3, the numbers start to change. So I think we'll just stick to 10%. So whatever we close on, 10% of what we make will go to anybody that goes to the property for us. Anybody that sends us a deal, 5% of the closing price. Whatever our wholesale fee is, you get 5%. And anybody that goes to the property for us, you get 10%. Right? 10% of that. Anybody that brings us a cash buyer, you get 50%. So half of that goes to you. Shout out to Emmanuel, because we've talked about him before in a couple episodes ago. I don't know which week it was. It might have been week 7, maybe, something like that. And he's been helping us. We've been working together trying to find deals. So this one he found. It was great. It was in Missouri, because on Clubhouse, I had talked to a couple of people and I ended up finding somebody who would potentially be a cash buyer. So I had wrote them and said, hey, I see you buy properties, would you be interested in seeing anything that we have? Where do you like to buy at? So they told me they like Missouri, Atlanta. But then, I don't know, it might have been a day or two, he found a property. It just went on the market. Within that same day, I might have been the first offer on that property. So I'm thinking, okay, this is a good deal. I'm doing the numbers. Everything's working out. I call the person up. It seemed like it'd be a good deal. Now the numbers, I'm going to give you the numbers for that one. Before I was actually able to get to the property, I had estimated the renovation to be $40,000. I honestly think it might be a little bit more. It depends on what you're doing there. I think it's an average renovation. It's a square footage of $11.99. The ARV is close to $210. It's about $208 to $211, depending, on what you do with the finishes. I got the property under contract for $110,000. It was listed at $130. I got it for $110. When they put it at $130, I said, hey, I can do $100. And they were like, okay, I'm gonna talk to my boss. He said, but I don't think they'll do $100. I think they'll probably do something closer to $120. He went to them. They said, no, we can't do $100, but we can do $118. I said, listen, my comps are saying that the retail for this property would be $205 to $208. If you could send me some comps that disprove that and show me that the retail is higher, then I can come up in my buy price. He goes and gets some comps, sends them back to me. I'm like, okay, I don't think it's gonna be what you said, but I can come up a little bit from the numbers that I have. So I'll do my bottom, and my final offer is 110. Tell the boss that you have, I said 110, and let me know what they say. Now, one thing I talked about before on here is that I've been trying to, this is my bottom, my max allowable offer. This is my max that I'm not going any higher than this, and seeing what happens. Because before, I would try and move the numbers and go, okay, if I could just, I know my max should be 110, but I'm going to try and do 112, because before that's what I was doing. I think I got burned multiple times doing that. So now I'm being very firm with myself by saying, if they don't want to sell for this price, then that's it. I'm not even going to try and move it up any higher. This is what I want for that deal. So this is my first time really doing that, and I did it, and they were like, okay, we'll do 110. So I'm thinking, oh shit. I'm like, we got one. We got another one in the same week. Oh, it's lit. Like, I'm excited. Emmanuel's about to get paid. I'm about to get paid. It's gonna be our first deal, bringing it back home. We're like, are we gonna show it on here? We're like, oh, we got our first deal. I was excited. I'm thinking, okay, also we have a cash buyer that already wants to buy in Missouri. So I'm thinking, it's about to be great. I was wrong. That's not what happened. Okay. So he sends me the contract. He's like, okay, they agreed to 110. I'm thinking everything is good. I signed the contract. I'm like, all right. I tell Emmanuel, I say, yo, Emmanuel, we got it under contract. Now we got to try to find a cash buyer, and then we gonna be good. We closing, and we get paid. Like, that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be done. He sends me the contract. I'm reading the contract right now. In the email, this was the first red flag that I saw. Just in the email, the bottom of the email said the person's name, and then it said dispositions. Now, the only time I've ever heard this word is when it comes to wholesaling, right? And I believe dispositions, I don't know if that's either getting leads or getting cash buyers. It's one of the two. I don't know which one it is. But all I know is that he's probably a wholesaler, because if it's in his email, I'm pretty sure he wholesales properties. So to me, I'm like, I don't know about this one. Like, in my head, I'm like, this seems kind of suspicious. that he's wholesaling it, but it's on the market. He's trying to give it to me for 110. And my very first property I talked about, I said, yeah, they came down really easily. And I thought that was kind of weird for my first property. It was in Baltimore. This was like maybe week 3 probably of the series. So this one I had to negotiate a little bit. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm negotiating. So we're going back and forth. It's not too easy. All right, fine. This might be a deal. Red flag, dispositions. Seems like a standard contract. Another red flag. When working with listing agents, what I've noticed is they will always, 99% of the time, they will send you the contract for that state. 99% of the time. Like they're going to go, okay, we see your terms. We're going to take your terms and we're going to put it in our contract. And I go, fine, sure. As long as my terms are met, put it in your contract. I don't care. He didn't do that. He was like, he sent me a contract that he had came up with. I was just kind of like, all right, 2 red flags. Okay. So I'm excited. Under contract, you know, I told you before, I'm going. I'm like, yo, we got to get it out there and we got to get it out. I remembered, don't put the address on the listing because, you know, people might try to steal it. Rule number 1, right? Rule number 2, vet the people that you have for the property. I'm like, all right, Donivan, you got those 2, right? So I'm like, okay, got to find cash buyers. So I'm like, first thing I did actually before I even looked for cash buyers was I tried to find people in the area that can go to their property and get pictures, which was highly unsuccessful. I called multiple contractors. Nobody's able to go to the property. Nobody was even picking up the phone. They would transfer me to other people who didn't answer the phone. It was just, when I probably called like 8 or 9 contractors. None of them were able to go to the property. One person said, yeah, we could do it, but it's going to take 2 weeks. I'm like, bitch, 2 weeks? I'm like, I need you to go in like 2 hours. Like, I don't have 2 weeks for you to go. I need to go right now. So then I called another person. They were like, well, what do you need done? I'm like, yeah, I need a little bit of, you know, some interior. And honestly, I ain't never been asked that before when talking to a contractor. Like, what kind of work do you need? Like, what are you looking for? Because I'm thinking, renovate the house. I need you to come in and make it look nice. That's what I want you to do. So they're like, what do you want? And I'm like, all right, go into my investor wholesale bag. I'm like, all right, interior. And one interior? They were like, okay, what do you want done? I'm like, fuck, shit. Bathrooms. I want bathrooms. I'm using all the words I know. I want bathrooms, drywall. Using all the words.
You know what's funny? I feel like I heard this.
Right? I'm like kitchens and flooring. Right? I'm like, these are the words I should be saying, right? Because mind you, when she asked me that, I wasn't sure what she was referring to. Because I'm like, you ever get asked a question that's so obvious that you got to ask yourself, like, damn, I might be dumb because I don't know. Like, it's so obvious. It's like,
see, I had a guy that had asked me that same question too. I'm like, listen, I got a property that I want this property to look like. Make the property look like that property.
And the only contractor I know that I have a relationship with in Philadelphia, that's what I did. I said, listen, take this house and put it inside this house. That's what I want you to just take it and put it in there. That's all I want you to do. And he was like, all right, cool, I can do that. So my brain was not like, what do you need done? So she's like, well, what kind of stuff do you want to get done? I'm like, just basic, just fix the shit. Like, it's fucked up. Fix it. Like, I don't know what do you mean? What do I want? So she was like, so when I told her that, she was like, yeah, we don't even do that. I'm like,
what?
I'm like, you don't even do that. She's like, yeah, we mostly do exterior stuff for the house. So I'm just like, all right, sure. She was like, well, I'll give you a guy's number that does that. I'm like, okay, cool. She give me the guy's number. I call him. He don't answer. So I'm just like, all right, ain't nobody answering the phone. I call somebody else. I'm like, hey, I need some stuff done. They're like, we only do roofs. I'm like, oh my God. And the one that I said that may be able to do it, they said they'll contact me in 2 weeks to do it. So I'm just like, yo, this is not working. All I need was pictures. So I said, you know what? Okay, step 2. Y'all already know in last week's episode, we talked about going to Airbnb. I'm like, not do that again because I'm pretty sure, I didn't say this in the last episode because I didn't think it happened yet. They deleted my account, but I think what had happened was I have an account. They were somehow linked, somehow. So they deleted my other account that was linked to my main account. So when I went to try and sign in with the other email, I couldn't sign in. The messages were gone. I didn't have any messages in my mail, but it was just gone. So I'm like, all right, I'm not doing that again because I want to get into Airbnb at some point. And I'm not trying to be getting into Airbnb with 2 red flags talking about some, we've seen you already. We're not letting you on the platform. So I'm just like, I'm not going down that route. I put it on Facebook and then I asked Melissa to put it on Facebook. Mm-hmm. After I put it up, I said, okay, now I'm gonna start trying to find somebody to go to the property. So I text the agent, say, hey, is it on a lockbox? He's like, yeah, here's a code. I'm like, oh, hallelujah, there's a code, because I hate having to have somebody go and deal with the agent, and then trying to talk to them and being like, hey, you know, what's trying to happen with this property? Is it wholesaling? What y'all doing? What's this? Lockboxes, I like. At the contract I have in Philadelphia, you go in, give me a price, you go out. Ain't no issues. It's perfect. That's what I like. Lockboxes. He told me lockbox. I'm like, oh yeah, this is about to be my first deal. I went through so much for the first 8-9 weeks. The last one, I'm about to kill it. Now that I have this property under contract, I'm marketing it on Facebook. I need somebody to get more pictures for me so I can get more idea of the inside. Because I want a contractor to go to the property to give me a better estimate compared to my numbers. So I'm on Facebook. I'm like, okay, who works in this area? So I went on like a marketplace, something like that, and I was trying to find photographers that do photography in that area. Maybe they have, like, you know, I charge $40 for a wedding picture, or I charge $25 for a family portrait. I'm trying to find them on Facebook. So I go to area, I put Missouri, and I put like photographer. And I had a couple people come up. Some people were charging 40, some were charging 50, some were charging 30. There was a lady who was doing children's hairstyles and things like that. So I'm thinking, listen, I'll just write them and say, hey, this is what I need to get done. Are you able to do this? Can you go to a property, take pictures for me, and send it to me, or whatever? So I had messaged like 4 people, right? So I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, we about to get it. Mind you, this contract, in the contract, it was to settle within 30 days of execution. Normally, when I get these properties under contract, people want me to close in 2 weeks. They figure, okay, you're a cash buyer. Can you close in 2 weeks? They expect me to close quicker because I'm a cash buyer and I'm an investor. So when this contract came back, that he wrote on it, I have 30 days. I said, oh, this is perfect. Like, lockbox, 30-day settlement. The numbers work. Everything is good. Like, everything is working at this point. Like I said before, I put 4 or 5 messages up there to people who were in the area who I could possibly have go take pictures of the property. They didn't respond to me yet. I get a text. Mind you, it's the same day that I posted the picture online. It's the same exact day, right? I'm putting the screenshot right here. It's going to be right here of the screenshot. And I'm going to read the screenshot. Pull Southwest off of Facebook right now. You don't have a signed contract with us. And I don't want you shopping it out. Our deal is off. So Melissa was twisting my hair, right? And I'm just like, bro, you got to be fucking kidding me. I'm like, what the fuck happened now? I'm like, what happened now? I have no I'm like, I can't even understand what could have possibly happened. Like, I didn't tell nobody the address. I didn't talk to nobody about the property yet. What is going on? And this is twice in the same week. I'm like, what are the odds that I will lose 2 contracts, 2 in the same week, probably within a 4 or 5 day span? What are the odds of that? So I'm thinking, what the fuck could have happened? I don't know what could have happened. I have no idea what could have possibly happened. So I'm sitting there twisting my hair, and I'm just trying to think, what is going on? So he texted me again, right? He texted me, prompt response and action is necessary. So now I'm like, I feel like I'm trying to get pressed, because I'm like, what do you mean prompt response and action is necessary? When I respond is when I respond, and you tell me take it down, I'll take it down when I take it down, because I don't understand what the issue is. One, I don't understand what happened. 2, I don't like the energy that's come with the text, right? So I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? Because normally when stuff like this happens, it usually does not go the same way when you talk to the person. So I go, you know what? When my hair's finna get twisted, I'm gonna call him, okay? And I have that video I'm gonna put at the end of this video when I call this person. So I call him, and I'm like, yeah, what's the problem? What's going on? He's like, yeah, I don't want you to have to put the property out there or sell this property or whatever. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. He was like, you put this property up and you're marketing it and you don't have a contract for it. And in my head, I'm like, you sent me a contract that I signed. You agreed over text on a price. You gave me the lockbox code to get into the property. So I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't have a contract, right? So I'm like, what the fuck is really going on here? So he's like, well, I see you put the pictures up on Facebook, and I've been trying to wholesale it myself. I'm a wholesaler, and it's not gonna move. I already tried wholesaling it, and it didn't work. So I put it on the MLS. So I'm like, okay, so what's the problem? Like, I don't understand what the problem is. If you agree to sell it to me for $110, and I'm gonna resell it for $115, you still get your $110 that you wanted. what is the issue? I'm not going to pay you. I'm like, you don't have to pay me. The buyer pays me out of the money that they put up for this property. What are you talking about? Well, I just don't want to do the deal with you. So I'm like, what is the issue? Because you're telling me that if I bring a buyer to buy the property that you are selling, you don't want to take it. He's like, yep, I don't want it. You guys can guess what you think it is. I'm gonna put up some pictures and some information about what happened or this whole thing. I have a theory of what I think it is, but you guys tell me. Now, I always go to, what did I do wrong in the situation? My thought is, how could I have done better? How could I have fixed this? So I'm thinking, okay, what was the problems here? The problem that I encountered in this situation is that I had a contract that I signed that they did not sign yet, right? That was the issue for me. So I go, okay, now I know going forward, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that both parties have signed a contract before I market it out. Because he's trying to tell me, he's like, well, I'm going to sue you. I'm like, you're going to sue me? Sue me for what? For listing a property that's not yours, marketing a property that's not yours. I'm like, you can't sue me for that. I'm like, one, now, this is what I'm saying on the phone. I don't know how true this is, but from my experience and what I've researched with wholesaling and real estate, he can't sue me for this. Because I never said that I'm selling a property. I don't have the address of the property on the listing. So it's a picture of the house, of the inside of the house that says assignment, contract for assignment, and then it has the area code, and then it has the price, and it has the renovation, and it has the ARV. And he's like, I'm gonna sue you. He's like, I just don't want to work with you, and I'm gonna sue you because you're not a real estate agent. You can't market property you don't own. And I'm like, how? I'm just like, what do you mean you're gonna? I'm like, you want to sue me for a property that I'm gonna bring a cash buyer to? So, we just listened to the video again. Just I wanted to make sure I got everything that I was trying to remember what he said, and it's just I'm getting really irritated even just re-listen to that message or that video again. And like I said earlier, I'm gonna put it at the end of this video. The property is on Facebook. The pictures are on Facebook, and he contacted me saying he's not gonna do the deal. And he was saying that I don't have it in the contract. He's going to sue me. I'm not an agent. I can't market it. I'm like, well, okay, listen. You're trying to tell me that if I bring you a cash buyer, you get 6% because I'm doing a dual agency. So you get the buyer's commission, you get the seller's commission, which is technically you, I guess. And then you also get the fee for wholesaling the house, which is going to be huge from when somebody actually comes and buys the house. He's like, yeah, I don't want to do it with you though. And I'm like, why not? Because I just don't like you and you lied to me. And I'm like, nobody lied to you. I told you I'm looking at this as an investment. He's like, well, we want an owner occupant. Now, mind you, now that I think about it, that house is not owner occupant ready. Nobody's moving into that house. I mean, from what I see, I put the pictures up here. It's not owner occupant unless there's new pictures, which I highly doubt. Nobody who's not an investor or fixing the house is not moving into that house. It's just not gonna happen. Especially not at no 130. That's ridiculous. The next day, I get up, I go on Facebook, right? And I have a message from somebody I've never met before. I'm just like, I don't know who this person is. I've never met them before. They're from Missouri. This person said, you're getting blasted about a wholesale deal you don't have under contract. Shaking my head, LOL. So I'm like, what? I'm like, what is he? I'm like, I know what he's talking about because it only happened with one person. I'm like, what is going on? Because I can't see it. So I went to go, I didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't get notifications about it. So I went to go look at it. And the room is a private room. And I already had access to it. So when I went to it the second time or whatever third time it was, I no longer had access to that room or to that group. I wanted to know what was being said for two reasons. One, I wanted to see what the angle was that they had when talking about the situation. And two, I wanted to see what other people were saying in response to this. Because this is my first time kind of interacting with other wholesalers, really. Like, I don't really interact or kind of converse with them that much. So I kind of wanted to see, okay, people who have been doing it more than me, what do they think about what's happening? Because I don't know if what I did was wrong. Because I'm like, yeah, damn, I marketed it out, but I signed it that he sent me, but he didn't sign it yet. So I'm like, damn, maybe I did something wrong. I'm like, fuck, I probably, if they in there going off about how, you don't market a contract and you don't have the other person sign, I'm like, damn, that's an L on me because I didn't know that. So I just wanted to see, okay, can I learn from this? What are they saying? I asked Melissa to go and sign up for the group. She got approved in a couple of hours. This is what we saw in that room. All right, so they decided that they had an announcement. The admin of this group had an announcement for me, right? The admin's name is Scott Jordan in Missouri, okay? This is the announcement that they had for me. The name of the group is St. Louis Real Estate Investing something. And there's a picture of like, it says D&S in red letters, and that's the group that I was kicked out of. Now, this person says, it has come to my attention that tagged me, Donivan Gray, is trying to market and wholesale a property that he does not have a contract on. This lazy piece of shit couldn't even take his own pictures and stole the pictures from the listing. This is the stuff that gives all of us a bad reputation. If anyone is serious and interested in this property, they can contact CJ Shockley with Faster House, who has control of the property. I see this message, right? And I'm like, what? So I'm just kind of like, okay, I want to see the comments on this message. The first comment says, did he even call you to inspect it? Clown. Chandler Lewis responds, his Facebook does not appear real. Wholesaling seems to be getting filled with scummy people by the second. The quickly changing laws in some states is a direct reflection of this in my opinion. CJ Shockley says, thanks Scott, with 3 exclamation points.
Oh, he's
yeah, right there.
Oh, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Joe Jaggy says, why is he still in the group? They responded by saying, I muted him so he can't post, but temporarily left him in so I could tag him and call him out. He's gone in the morning. Right? Now, I didn't even see his, I don't use Facebook. When they tagged me, I had no idea I was tagged. He did not say that he tagged me so that I can respond to what was said. All he said was, I tagged him so that he can see this message and we're going to kick him out in the morning. So I'm muted so I can't say anything, but then they also want me to know that they're talking shit. Michael Zugler said, this industry is full of clowns that don't have money and can buy real estate if they wanted to. It's very sad. Eventually, the properties make it to those of us that have cash regularly. This is why I don't use Facebook, because these kind of people are on Facebook. This is the kind of people that I don't like to interact with, because the fact that he's talking about the industry is full of clowns don't have money to buy real estate. I didn't check his page. So he might not even be an investor. I have no idea. But nobody, let me not say that. Most people that buy real estate don't have money to buy real estate. One, they get loans to buy it, number one. And two, they have to build up capital to do so. So how else will you build up capital? You have to go out and work. Is wholesaling a job that produces capital? It is. So if I myself don't have the money to go out and buy real estate myself, what would I do? I'll get a job like wholesaling that provides me the funds to then go out and buy real estate. But again, these are the kind of people that I see on Facebook, which is why me personally, I don't use Facebook. Real estate investors understand wholesaling. They do it themselves on the $1 million level, on the $100 million level. I'm pretty sure they're like, yo, bro, you want this? Here, I'm just going to sign a contract to you. You sign off on it, and you can have this property that I don't want no more. I don't want to do it no more, whatever the case might be. So everybody does it, from the bottoms of the level who don't have any money, people who have hundreds of millions of dollars, to probably even the billionaires to sign contracts. The whole fact that a contract is assignable without having it to be written in the contract means that it's just a written word. And yeah, you can do that. It's so normal that we don't even put it in the contract, because people just do it.
Like, what I don't understand what the problem is of having the property on the MLS. So if somebody can explain that, let me know. Because as long as the profits and the margins equate to the profits and margins that you would get to on a property that is off market, I don't see what the issue is.
That's how I lost 2 contracts in 4 days or 5 days, and that's not even my update for the week, which is crazy to me, because I had a bunch of stuff that I was doing before that even happened, and then this just ended up happening. So I'm just kind of like, listen, I already know that as a wholesaler, or I wouldn't even call myself that, as a person who's investing in real estate, I understand that other people who are doing wholesaling.
Mm-hmm. I remember
what
I was gonna say. Okay. You can go ahead.
You made a big sigh, so I figured you wanted to say something.
The thing that I don't understand too is that why people treat wholesalers the way that they do, when wholesalers are like an integral part that I've seen of real estate.
Yeah.
Like people say like, yeah, I wholesale deals sometimes, or yeah, I have a wholesaler that be sending me deals, and they say it in a positive way, but as soon as you say that you're a wholesaler, it's like, oh no. Yeah. So I don't understand that.
This is my theory on it. I think because it's underground. And by underground, I mean legally it's underground. So I think that's the problem with it, because the most people that hate wholesalers are real estate agents, because they don't make no money with wholesalers don't bring them much money. And they make more money than them. And they also probably do less work.
Yeah, I guess, but they still get more money over the table if you do the double dip strategy.
More money than, I mean, if you do that.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't do that, one, and then it's kind of like, imagine getting 3% of $100,000. That's $3,000, and then you got to pay your broker 80% of that.
Well, you should have been a wholesaler. I don't know what to tell you.
They didn't know. So now,
but they do know.
Regardless if they should have been a wholesaler or not, that's not the issue. The issue is that.
Yeah, that's what they have to
right,
go through.
Exactly. So they're upset. And it's like, I have to get a license for all of this. I got to follow all these rules. And you come along and you make $20,000 on a deal that I made $1,500 on. So
that sounds very personal.
And I think that's what ends up happening. Is that discrepancy between the people who are like, I want to make that much money, but I don't want to put all of that work in to do what you guys do, but I want this route to do it. Because, like I said, I personally think that wholesaling is harder than being a real estate agent.
I feel like being a real estate agent presents you with the optimal situation to do wholesaling, in a sense that like you would have connects, you would have the networking, you would have the people that's about to list a property, and you'd also have the cash buyers or people that's looking for it.
I don't know how the ethical thing works. I don't know what counts as unethical. I don't know if they say like, because I mean, a lot of agents are wholesalers too already. So I don't know if they feel like, well, if you're working for the seller themselves, but you're also working for the buyer, it's a conflict of interest type of thing.
I mean, that's what the dual agency is.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
So and that's legal in some states. I understand in the states where it's not legal, but still you can still be a transactional agent. So you can do. I mean, maybe they don't know that they can do wholesaling. Yeah,
I think that's it. I think that's it too. That they just don't know what wholesaling is, and the only time they hear about it is kind of like, new law, wholesaling is illegal, and they don't do the research. Why would they do it? Most people don't research stuff anyways.
I want to talk about the suing thing too, because just so people know what's illegal or what they can sue for is someone trying to sell a property or marketing a property that they don't have a contract on, right? But the way that wholesaling works is that you're not selling the actual property, you're selling the contract. That's a bar. So they can't use that against you. And then same thing that Donivan said, like there was no address on the property. What you gonna
and see that's a bar, because now what I'm thinking about is it literally said in the description assignment of contract. So this contract is for this property. I'm not actually selling the property. I don't own the property. Yeah. I own the contract for the property. So I can market this shit all over the place. I can put it on over here. I can put it over there. I can put it over there, because it's the contract that I'm selling, not the actual property. Yep. So, like I said, and this is why when we're on the phone, which you're going to hear later, which is why he kind of didn't really have nothing to say. He kind of just like, I don't know. And then that explains also why he went to the admin and was like, tell him take it down. I don't want to have it up there.
He can't sue you for that because you're not selling the property, and like I said, the address is not there. It's just pictures of it.
And now going forward, I'm going to definitely have that everywhere. I'm going to say, listen, this is a contract assignment, and that's what I'm doing. It's a contract assignment. So we're going to see.
And then that's another thing too. And like the termination of the contract says, it's not that you can't assign a contract. You just, both people need to agree to it. And in either way, you need to put the assignment of the contract in writing in the contract later on, as an amendment or an addendum or something like that. The issue is you kind of need to find someone to assign it to. So I feel like they'd be weary if there's kind of like, oh, okay, so you want to assign it, but you have no one to assign it to, as opposed to like you coming to the table like, this is who I want to give this property to. I no longer want it. Let's just, I'm just gonna assign it to him since I have it under contract, and that's how it's supposed to go.
But they're supposed to take full responsibility of the contract up to the settlement date. I think you might still be on the hook for it until they close, I believe. Which is why you would get a non-refundable EMD, so that if they do decide to back out, you get to keep that money either way. So there's that. That was my second contract that I lost in this week, and I'm actually gonna go over my update. But to me, I look at it as a good sign for me, right? Because I've never done a deal yet, and I already lost 2 contracts because of other wholesalers already. So I'm like, maybe I need to have some skin in the game. Now when I have my war stories, I could be like, I remember back in the day when I first started, I lost 2 contracts, and now I can talk about it, because now maybe that means I'm actually an investor now. Because I remember, I think I seen Jerry talk about, which is kind of funny. He was like, you aren't actually at the wholesaling until somebody steals your contract, or until somebody steals a deal from you.
I remember that, yeah.
So nobody stole it from me as far as I know, but I definitely had them taken away from me. I guess that's my introduction to being a wholesaler. But a couple things I wanted to go over that happened to me outside of this, because I had wrote mad stuff down to talk about. And then this happened within it might have been the last 3 days. All right, so part 2, because I have like things to talk about. With the cash buyers list, one thing I've realized with Jerry, he thinks you should find a deal first and then a cash buyer. So I think that it could be a miscommunication for me. Maybe I didn't understand it right, but watching more videos, it seems as though he says find a good deal, and then while you're shopping it out for cash buyers to take their information down and build your cash buyers list that way. That's mixing both worlds together, which is obviously the most optimal thing to do. I took it as you find a deal first and then you put it out to cash buyers and things like that. So he's like, hey, I put it out there, and if they don't want to buy it, I keep them on my list for future reference. And that makes a lot of sense. I seen somebody else who talked about this recently. Her YouTube name is Hot Wholesale. I think that's her name.
I think so.
Yeah. She talks about something called ghost listings. Now, it's either one or two things or one or two ways that she does it. She will leave a post up that she has already marketed out to assign. If people still write her about it, she'll say, hey, the property's no longer up anymore, but if we find something else that fits your criteria, we'll send it to you. Do you want to do that? And they go, yeah, sure. She will go to another person's picture, and she will look at the emails, and then she'll take their emails down, put it on her spreadsheet, and then she'll email them as a cash buyer for deals that are similar to that one they commented on. Like I said, I'm building mine up. I probably have like 8. The criteria is so far apart from each other. So I either have to find 8 different kinds of deals. Budget is like 100,000, others is 200,000. Some of them want rentals, some of them don't want rentals, some of them want vacant land, some of them don't want vacant land, some of them want this area, the other ones only want that area. They want a multifamily, they want a 3-1. And I think that's so crazy because this is what I was saying about in the last couple of episodes is all the cash buyers or the majority of them want different things. So if I find a deal like I did in Missouri, I can't bring that to somebody who wants a 3-1 because they said I only want a 3-1 or a multifamily unit, or I only want residential land. So this is why I'm always saying that I think having cash buyers or having a robust, vetted, quality cash buyers list is the best thing to have because the deals vary so much for everybody on the list. There's the wholesale coach, and I'm not a fan of his channel specifically, but he has a challenge that we're trying to get a deal virtually in 30 days. I don't know if he's gotten a deal yet. He might have. I've watched the videos and I haven't seen it because I don't like the fact that he's in the video saying things like, I'm only going to give you some information, not everything. You had to come to my course and pay for this and pay for that. I personally don't like that. Zipmap.net. So it tells you the zip codes of different areas when you put them in, and you can kind of like find zip codes based off.
Does it help you find deals in those areas? No. Oh, so that's not what it does.
No. Yeah, it tells you where the zip codes are. I forgot why it's helpful, but I have it on my list as it being helpful. He would go to areas that are good for flipping, and then he would put in those zip codes onto here and then start marketing around that. We currently have a lot of people working in different places that are helping us out. It's Khalif, who's working in in Cleveland, Ohio, who can go to properties for us. We have, Emmanuel, who's looking for leads. It was Serena in Atlanta. Frederick, he has cash buyers that he says that he can find. I think he's in California. We're trying to build a team because we can't do everything by ourselves. This is the system that we have to pay people, right? 10% if you go to a property. So if we close in a deal that's $10,000, you get $1,000. If it's $5,000, you get $500. If you find the lead, you get 5%. And then we also have anybody that brings us a cash buyer. If you bring us a cash buyer and the cash buyer closes on the property, then we pay you half. So you get half of whatever we get. And then I want to give an update on another property that I had. I thought that I might have lost it. 2 actually updates that I have on old properties. One of them, I thought I lost relationship with somebody because I couldn't close fast enough, but I ended up calling her back. She was an agent, and we had a good conversation, and she was telling me that she'll send me some stuff that comes up for her. But I thought that because I wasn't able to close in the time that she wanted, and somebody else got the deal, that it kind of ruined the relationship, but it didn't. I think following up is probably the most important thing in the business of real estate because I go through my old leads periodically and I kind of just see, okay, what has still pending, what has sold, what's off the market. Last week I talked about a developer that I have that it works in Philadelphia. It seems that he's been trying to play me. That's what it seems as, right? Now, another red flag that I think people should look out for in real estate or in life in general is people that try to tell you about all the things that they're doing. And he's been trying to get me to buy this property I told you guys about before a couple episodes ago, where it was
ARV is like 400, possibly close to 400, and he's selling it for 150. And he said that renovation is like 90,000. And he was like, yeah, you sound very seasoned. You know what you're doing. Now, I now think he was probably blowing smoke up my ass. Because I feel like he's been really thirsty to try and get me to buy this property. The first time I was going to buy it, he's like, oh, yeah, we already have it under contract. Somebody's going to buy it. And I'm like, all right, cool. He came back the next week and like, oh, man, if they fell through, you want to buy it? So I started running numbers again. I had my guy go through and look at it. He told me renovation would be $200,000 plus. Right? And I was like, damn, that sounds crazy. I never heard nobody say $200,000 for renovation. Never heard that. When I talked to the guy, he's like, $200,000? That would never, he's crazy. Why would you believe that? I was talking to the contractor that I have in Philadelphia again recently because I was just curious how he got to that number. While he was walking on the property with the developer, he asked the developer, why did you tell Donivan $90,000 for this job? This is going to be way more than that. The developer said to the contractor, oh, you're a smart man. Yeah, you know. Yeah, and he laughed. After that conversation with me and the contractor about that prior incident, the same developers contacted me again, trying to get me to buy the property. Like, hey, do you want to buy it? I'm going to have it under, I lost another investor on it. What's your profit margin that you want on this? So like I said, when somebody is trying to get me to buy a property this hard, it makes me believe that something is wrong. So I'm kind of stepping away from it because I've talked about this before, about wanting to keep that relationship with him. But based on what's happening right now, I don't think I should do that. When we talked on the phone last, he was saying, I have properties I'm going to be doing in Africa, and I'm going to be in Nigeria, and then I'm going to also be in the Caribbean islands. I got some stuff in Haiti I'm about to do, and I got some more projects coming up over here in Philadelphia, and I got some other ones over there in Jersey. So he said he could probably do it for $200,000, which I still think is really high. The house is close to 2,000 square feet, so he pretty much charges about $100 a square foot.
Oh. And as you can see, we have started to take care of ourselves again. Because Donovan's hair is good, my hair is good.
The only reason that we started taking care of ourselves, we didn't do as much wholesaling this week. That's the only reason. We had some time because I was trying to kind of get things in order, post some more videos, and then kind of follow up with some other stuff that I was doing as far as real estate goes. So, that was the last thing I wanted to touch on. Actually, two things I wanted to put up. So I'm going to put up here what the developer sent me as a scope of work for the property. Because I'm like, I want to know how he got to 90,000, and I want to know how the contractor that I know in Philadelphia got to 200,000. Because I feel like one thing that people in wholesaling really, need to learn is renovation. Because I know that's the hardest thing to learn. So I had one guy who, I don't really know if I trust him, but sent me his scope of work. I have one of my friends in New Jersey flipping the house, and he sent me a scope of work. So if I can find it, I'll post in the description below. But that wraps it up for week 10 of the Bamboo Project Wholesaling series. So if you stayed for the whole video, we will post the phone call that I had with CJ bitch ass Shockley in Missouri. And let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm bugging. Let me know if he's wrong, what you guys think. Bamboo Project out.
Because watch time was something that I was really concerned about. Because I'm like, damn, how are we going to get 4,000 watch hours? 4,000. You're like, you have to multiply 4,000 by 60.
Hey, Charles, what's going on? Hey, yes, I got your text. What's the problem?
You're trying to wholesale our house, man. And for one, we don't have a contract signed. And you're not going to have any luck. Because I'm a wholesaler myself. And
yeah, I know.
I tried wholesaling that house for a long time, and it didn't work, so that's why it's on the MLS.
Yeah, I figured that you guys are wholesalers from the email, but that's why I figured I'd try and move it myself since you guys haven't had any luck moving it.
Yeah, that's not what we're looking for. We're wanting an end buyer, so.
Okay, so if I bring you an end buyer, is that the same result as you having an end buyer?
No, it's not. I don't want you shopping it out. So, yeah, pull it off Facebook, and we'll be good.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave it up there in case I get a cash buyer, because that doesn't make any sense that if I bring you a cash buyer, it's not the same process as if you got a cash buyer yourself.
It is a different process, and you don't have the right to sell it. You don't have a contract signed, so.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. But if I bring you a buyer, would that not satisfy what you're looking for the property?
No, because for one, now it's on the MLS, so there's different rules that go along with it, and like I said,
what different rules are there?
I had it all over Facebook, and shot it to. I mean, we've got a lot of buyers, so.
If you had a lot of buyers, it would have been sold already, but it wasn't.
Yeah, because at 115, nobody's gonna buy it. So.
And you have it listed at 130.
Yeah, on the MLS. No investors buying it at 115. So it's got to be like an owner occupant. But dude, like I said, I don't want you shopping it. I don't want you wholesaling it. So go ahead and pull it down, and we'll be good.
I mean, like I said, I'm gonna leave it up. So if somebody comes to me, then I'll call you back and let you know how somebody wants to buy it.
You can't. You don't have a contract, so you don't have the right to shop it.
Right. No. What I'm saying is, if I find a buyer, then I will call you back and tell you I have a buyer who wants to buy the property, and we can get a contract for it.
No, because for one, you can't send people in there on a lockbox. You don't have the right to.
Oh, I'm not going to.
Dude, just pull it down.
Like I said, I'm not gonna pull it down.
Okay, so you want to go that route?
Sure.
We can sue you. So
Sue me for what?
first, shopping a house that's not yours that you don't have a contract on.
If I'm telling somebody the house that I can give to them, which is from you, what's the difference from you selling it to them or me telling them you're selling it to them?
Because I'm not paying you any money.
You don't have to pay me any money.
So what would be your reasoning behind it?
Because the person buying the house would be paying me, not you.
You're not an agent, so it's a listed deal.
Uh-huh.
So you can't do that.
Why
If
can
somebody comes to me that's going to buy the house,
Yeah.
why would they then pay you money?
Because I brought them the house.
But you don't have a contract, so there'd be no reason.
Okay, so let me see. I'm see if I got this right. So you're trying to sell a house, and you tell me if I bring you a buyer for the house, you would not give me a contract to give the house to that buyer.
Yeah, that's right, because I don't want to mess with you. Because, for one, you lied to me.
I lied to you. How did I lie to you?
Because you told me you're flipping the house.
I didn't. I said I'm looking at it as an investment, which is what I'm doing.
Dude, pull it down.
Like I said, I'm not going to pull it down. Because I'm like, and you get 6% on it either way. So I'm trying to understand what the negative side for you is, unless it's something that you're not telling me.
Because I don't want you to do it.
Right. Like I said, there's something that's not being told here, because obviously if you get 6% on the deal and you sell the property, it's a win-win for you. So what's the actual issue here?
I don't want to mess with you. I don't want you to be in this deal. I don't want you messing with my house. So pull it down.
But you said
you don't have any issues. But if you don't, we are going to have issues. So
well, like I said, I'm not going to pull it down, and I would love to see you try to sue me for something that has not been done.
Okay. See ya.
All right.